You know, the fast bowler in cricket is just an incredible athlete. They're explosive, they're dynamic, but all of that raw power comes at a price. A really high physical price. So in this explainer, we're going to take a slow, careful look at the massive toll fast bowling takes on the body and the amazing science that's now being used to protect these athletes from what once seemed like inevitable injury.
We'll walk through this together in 5 parts. First, we'll get a handle on the scale of the problem by looking at the high cost of pace. Then we'll get into the science of a strain to really understand why these injuries are so common. After that, we'll explore how we're decoding the danger signs, often before an injury even happens. We'll also look at the important differences between male versus female bowlers. And finally, we'll look ahead to the future of prevention.
All right, so let's start at the beginning. Before we get into the why, we need to establish just how physically punishing the role of a fast bowler truly is. It's known as the most demanding job in cricket, and well, the data definitely backs that up.
Now, this statement here really sets the stage for our entire conversation. This isn't just an opinion, you see. It's a hard fact that comes from years and years of sports science research. So let's be clear, for a fast bowler, injury isn't just a risk, it's practically a certainty.
To put a number on it, think about this. At any given moment, about 9% of all elite cricketers are on the sidelines with some kind of injury. That's already a pretty high number for any sport. But for fast bowlers, the rate is much, much higher. They really are in a league of their own when it comes to physical risk. Let's just pause on that thought for a moment.
So, what are we actually talking about when we say injury? Well, here's some of the usual suspects. You've got your hamstring strains, shoulder problems, sprained ankles, all common in sport. But the big one, the most frequent and often the most career-altering, are those at the top. Lumbar bone stress injuries, or LBSIs. Basically, these are tiny fractures in the lower backbones caused by doing the same stressful motion over and over and over again. The lower back truly is ground zero.
So that brings us to our second section. Knowing that bowlers get hurt is one thing, but understanding why they get hurt, well, that's where modern science, specifically biomechanics, really shines a light on what's happening.
Before we move on, let's be really clear about what an LBSI is. It's not a single event, like a snap. It's a process. It starts as what's called a bone stress reaction. You can think of that as a deep, deep bruise on the bone itself. If the stress continues, that reaction can develop into a full-blown stress fracture in one of the vertebrae in the lower spine. And the cause is simple: repetitive, heavy loading. The bowling action itself is this incredible, almost violent sequence of events. The bowler sprints in, building up forward or linear momentum. Then, in that last fraction of a second, their body slams on the brakes, twists, and whips around, converting all of that forward motion into powerful rotational energy that gets transferred into the ball.
And to understand the forces involved, look at this. When a fast bowler plants their front foot to deliver the ball, the force coming back up from the ground into their leg can be more than 6 times their own body weight. Try to picture this. It's like jumping off a 6-foot ledge and landing on one leg. Now, imagine doing that 100 times a day.
So here is the crucial point. It's this combination of forces happening all at once. You have that incredibly high-impact landing on the front foot. At the exact same time, the upper body is rotating violently, and it's also bending to the side. It's that triple whammy of movements that focuses an unbelievable amount of stress again and again onto a very small part of the lower back.
For the longest time, injuries like these were just accepted as a painful part of the game. But today, science can do more than just explain why someone got hurt. Now we can actually identify specific technical flaws that act like warning signs for an injury that's waiting to happen.
Now, this is where things get really fascinating. It's a bit technical, so let's walk through it slowly. Using 3D motion capture, scientists have found 2 major red flags for future back injuries. The first one is how much the rear hip is bent when the back foot lands. If it's bent more than 30 degrees, that's a risk. The second one is how much the lower back itself flexes forward when the front foot lands. If it's less than 3 degrees, meaning the back is too straight and rigid, that's also a risk. These aren't just guesses, they are measurable danger signs.
And just how powerful is this information? Get this, a scientific model using only those 2 measurements we just discussed was able to correctly classify 88% of fast bowlers into 2 groups, those who would get injured and those who wouldn't. Think about that. That is an absolute game changer for identifying at-risk athletes before they ever feel a twinge of pain.
Now, let us pause for a moment because the story isn't quite the same for every bowler. As the women's game has grown, so has the research. And what it's showing us is that there are very real differences in the biomechanics and the typical injury patterns between male and female athletes.
And this lays out that contrast very clearly. As we've been discussing, elite male bowlers are most at risk for those stress injuries in the lower back, the LBSIs. Elite female bowlers, on the other hand, tend to suffer more from bone stress injuries in their lower limbs. We're talking about the shin, the foot, or the ankle. The weak point in the chain is in a different place.
So the next question is, why the difference? Well, it all comes down to technique. Male bowlers, on average, generate more twisting in their upper body. That's shoulder counter rotation. And they also bend more to the side. As we know, both of those movements put a lot of strain on the lower back. In contrast, many female bowlers use a straighter, more braced front leg, and that technique is thought to send more of the landing force straight up the lower leg, which might explain why they have more issues with shins and feet.
So, this brings us to our final section. We understand the problem, we understand the science behind it, and we understand the variations. Now, let's look at the modern, science-driven solutions that are being used to keep these incredible athletes on the field.
It's really a different world now. In the old days, injury prevention might have been a coach just saying, you should probably do some more stretches, or just take a few days off. But today, it's this comprehensive, holistic approach that brings together coaches, doctors, and data scientists, all using technology to make smarter decisions.
And this modern approach really stands on three key pillars. First, there's early biomechanical screening. That means using that 3D motion capture technology to spot those technical red flags we talked about. Second, there's smart workload regulation. This means carefully tracking how many bowls a bowler is bowling, because we know that sudden jumps in that number are a huge risk. And third, there's targeted strengthening. This isn't just about lifting heavy weights, it's about building very specific strength and control around the core and hips to help the body safely absorb all those extreme forces.
And this quote from fast bowling coach Stephen Jones really captures a crucial shift in thinking. The point of all this science isn't to turn athletes into patients. It's to build stronger, more resilient athletes who can actually bowl faster as a result of their training. The idea is that smart training makes you better and safer.
So we've gone on quite a journey. We've seen the incredible physical price of bowling fast, the science that explains the strain, and the technologies that are working to prevent it. But the sport never stands still. The game keeps getting faster, the schedules get more crowded, and that leaves us with the big question. As the demands on these athletes grow, can science keep up and protect the players who make the sport what it is? The answer to that will really shape the future of cricket.